outstanding is less than 6. If Lowell Light and Power moves forward with issuing this bond for $995,000 in fiscal year 2021, our total debt outstanding will still actually decrease by almost $200,000 in the next year because we're paying it off debt so quickly. If we go to the final table, you'll see that we actually have our Campbell 3 coal plant debt expiring in fiscal year 2022. And right now, Lowell Light and Power is paying $500,000 a year through our monthly purchase power bills towards this debt. In fiscal year 2023, that amount will be completely paid off, and our annual debt payments will go from just under $1.3 million to $614,000. So from a flexibility standpoint, as a percentage of total revenue standpoint, and remaining debt outstanding standpoint, Lowell Light and Power is in better position than we have been in quite some time. I just wanted to give perspective. When we're issuing $995,000, that's a lot of money, but we've issued a lot more money in the past, and we haven't had near the revenue to support that debt, and we've been okay. So it's the Light and Power Board's recommendation for the council to adopt the ordinance, including your packet. If you have any questions, obviously I can take them, and Dickinson Wright, Dick Went drafted the ordinance.
Steve, you said that at the very beginning you had maybe some concerns from some citizens that reached out to you. What were those concerns that came from citizens that reached out to you?
Really, it was just understanding whether or not we'd be over our head issuing $1 million note. It just seemed like a large dollar amount to them. I said, you know, it is a large dollar amount, but when you put it in perspective of Lowell Light Power being a $9 million utility, what debt is coming off the books, how much debt we've had in the past that we've been able to finance compared to what we have to pay into the future, we're in a really good position. And a lot of these projects that are energy center just can't wait. I mean, it's nickel and diming us. We're constantly paying for parking lot repairs, roof fixes. We're operating our turbines more now that they're both up and running and have control panels that work functionally. So after I talked with the two citizens that I talked with, they were very comfortable. They were 35 to 40 minute conversations, and they were very positive conversations.
And the last question is, what does that look like to the ratepayer paying over the next 7 years?
So this will not impact Lowell Light and Power's projected rate adjustments going forward. We've had a 1.45% inflationary increase the last 3 years. This does not impact that. If anything, I think this should save us money from the perspective of we still are earning on some of our reserves 3% through Ginnie Mae mortgage-backed securities, and to take out that money to use to pay for these projects, we'd actually, be losing 3% interest and paying debt for 2.2. So we're actually, we have an 0.8 of a margin there. So our interest income compared to interest expense, that would decrease. And then, if contractor, construction, trade type of projects do increase by an inflationary amount of more than 2.2% per year, we'll actually be paying more for these projects in the future. So from a rate perspective, it's counterintuitive, but I think actually issuing a note would save our ratepayers money over the course of time.
Anybody else? All right. Then we'll look for a motion to approve resolution 20-3, bond authorization.
I make that motion.
Will support. Any discussion or further questions?
Mayor DeBoer?
Yes.
Councilmember Salzweedl?
Yes.
Councilmember Yankovic?
I was totally convinced by the grass. Seriously. Good stuff, yes.
Thanks, Cliff.
Well, we're supposed to explain our votes now, man.
Councilmember Chambers?
Yes.
And Councilmember Canfield?
Yes.
All right, very good. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Also, I had some questions on it too, and I talked to Jeff Dickerman, and he was very well informed and was able to quell any concerns I had. So I think that whole board is very well informed and well presented when I come with the recommendation. Vacation days, Michael.
Yes, during May, the classification and compensation study was presented for your review by the Michigan Municipal League. One of the items suggested to consider was the amount of vacation time accrued for the longer-serving non-union and department directors. For many years, once you reached your 12th year of service, an individual received 20 days of vacation. However, it did not increase beyond that amount if you had additional years of service. In the reopener to the recently expired IBEW collective bargaining agreement and the Lowell police officers collective bargaining agreement, the city agreed to the additional amount of days as follows. For 20 years of service, you'd get 21 days. For 21 years of service, you'd have 22 days. For 22 years of service, you'd have 23 days. 23 years of service is eligible for 24 days, and 24 years of service eligible for 25 days. I'm requesting this benefit be provided to the non-union and department director staff as well. This would in no way change the amount of vacation time employees can cash out once they sever employment with the City of Lowell. The City of Lowell allows employees to cash out no greater than 20 days vacation time when they leave the city. I'm not recommending any changes to this procedure. I recommend the Lowell City Council approve the above listed increase to vacation days based on years of service for non-union and department director employees.
Mike, have you projected out what this will cost us on an annual basis?
Well, I mean, this really doesn't because it's additional vacation. We don't budget now. It's something we already provide.
Right, but it's a cost because we're giving people time off. We're paying them.
I mean, the only time that really the only time that there would be a cost that we would have to, if we backfill like in the police department with part-time officers, that would be the only time. So, but I haven't calculated that.
And you're capping this at the 25 days? It's not
Correct.
going to be 26, 25?
No.
It's-
Once you get to the 24th year, it's 25 days.
Oh, this is bringing the non-union employees current with the other ones, right?
Correct. That's all it
It's
says.
going to be a blanket policy for
Correct.
everybody.
Correct.
All right, any other questions from Mike?
There is cost though involved.
Yeah, I agree.
Whereas I just have a concern, we keep, adding to the benefit package, and this does equalize things, but I think there's some scary times ahead for us.
I agree.
Personally, I'd rather wait a year to make this move and look at it then. I recognize we need to be fair to everybody too.
Any other questions for Mike? Motion to approve the policy?
I'll make that motion to approve.
I'll support it.
Any other discussion, questions? Sue?
Councilmember Salzweedl,
No.
Councilmember Yankovic,
Yes.
Councilmember Chambers,
No.
Councilmember Canfield,
No.
and Mayor DeVore.
Yes. So that's that. Last one, hazard pay through the CARES Act.
The City of Lowell is eligible to seek reimbursement for hazard pay for our police officers if we so choose. This would allow for each full-time and part-time officer to receive $1,000 in hazard pay from the city, who would thereby be reimbursed from the state of Michigan through a $100 million allocation from the CARES Act. There are some issues which would need to be addressed if we were to proceed with this. The first issue is the city must actually provide the hazard pay prior to filing for reimbursement. At this time, there is no contractual obligation to provide this in our collective bargaining agreement with our full-time police officers. Also, there is not a budget allocation for this. If we were to proceed with this, it would be an $11,000 expenditure to account for the 11 officers who worked since March 1st, 2020 during the pandemic. The second issue is the CARES Act reimbursement is first come, first served. I was informed of this program on July 3rd and participated in the webinar on July 9th. The first application period began on July 7th and expired last Friday for the April and May payments. Since I did not have authority to participate, I did not apply before the July 17th deadline. There was supposed to be a second wave of applications for June and July, and it's supposed to be done before the September 30th, 2020 deadline for the program. What I would like to do, if given authority to do so, is wait until the second application period begins and immediately provide the bonus. The next day, I would file the application with Michigan Department of Treasury seeking the reimbursement. Now, there's always a risk of not receiving the funds because they were depleted. Since these funds are something we are eligible to participate in, I'd like to move forward and obtain these funds for our officers. I'm recommending the City of Lowell apply for the hazard pay reimbursement in the manner I described.
there a way to find out what of the funds were taken in the first go-around and what's left for the second?
You know, that question was asked in a webinar, and Treasury really didn't give a really good answer to that. I mean, it would probably require communication with Treasury. Whether they give us that, I don't know.
Several of my customers are involved in this CARE Act, and when it's gone, and the sooner you can apply for it, the sooner you may be able to get it. And they had no idea where they were at, and if it was $10 million, how much of it's left, they just didn't know either. They're asking me about some stuff, so.
There's a lot of people, the way it was written, that aren't eligible. Like no fire authorities are eligible
Right.
because they're not paid by a municipality, they're paid by a.
So the fire authorities are, which kind of is odd because the state wanted to see consolidation with communities and those things. And they were completely not included in the CARES Act funding.
What about cities like Ionia and East Grand Rapids that just have a public safety force?
They were.
They were, yeah. There's a one payment, you don't get one payment per job, I know it's one
Yes, they were.
payment per.
Memorial Health has their own police force, and they were eligible under this CARE Act.
I thought it was.
Yes, they were. I believe even private ambulances are.
Yes, it has to be filed individually though by state, because we're out of Colorado, so they have to apply in California and Colorado here in New York. You can't just apply for all your employees and then get it over, so. I think that they excluded a lot of people who would otherwise be eligible. There's a lot of fire authority people. And a lot of these big companies they've already done some kind of bonus program. I think these guys got a lot on their plate, and if we give them their bonus and we don't get reimbursed, they still did the job. I'd hate to not pay them and then find out at the end of September there was a ton of money left over because everybody was.
I say file for it, try and see what's.
They're doing the job. They're still out there doing the job regardless of whether we get reimbursed from the state or not.
I have pretty low expectations when we have a former police chief who was instructing people in ways to circumvent the governor's orders, and you take a look in our town, we're not, I'm just saying, I think we should give them the bonus, but I wouldn't hold my breath waiting for the state of Michigan to give us money, because we don't want to play by the rules here.
Well, I think at the end of the day, the guys did the job, and that's the overall, it's tough enough that the fire guys aren't getting it, because they're out there too. I would hate to deny them a benefit just because we're worried about it. I agree with you. I agree with the part where
Well, I think we should
your
give
breath
them
from
the
the state of
money.
Michigan to do anything is,
Right, it's
You
tough enough.
yeah. So, I mean, look at the narrative around the marijuana tax. How everybody thinks because we have this marijuana place that they're just dragging bags full of money down the street. We're not going to see that money for years. So, I think 11 grand is a risk I'm willing to take because those guys were out there this whole time doing the job. They can't apply for unemployment and stay home from work. That's not how that job works. So,
And it is 11 grand. I mean, budget time next year,
those guys are worth it.
they are. And I'd much rather go for it and see them end up. And it's just going to be a topic if we don't get it come budget time, and we'll deal with that problem then. But
I agree. I'll make the recommendation that we apply for the hazard pay reimbursement in the manner as described and issue the bonuses once the second round of application is open.
I'll support.
Any other discussion? Sue?
Councilmember Yankovic?
Yes.
Councilmember Chambers?
Yes.
Councilmember Canfield?
No.
Mayor DeVore?
Yes.
Councilmember Salzweedl?
Yes.
All right, item 6, board and commission reports. Cliff?
I have nothing.
Jim?
I have nothing.
Greg?
Laura did meet at Stony Lakeside Park a couple weeks ago. Dave Austin was out of town. We are attempting to move forward with our fundraising and hoping to get the trail completed, but it's a tough year. We don't know where we're going. We're short some money like everyone else is. That's the story there.
Good, Marty?
I've been on vacation.
I only had fire authority. The McGrath Consulting people are coming in to our August meeting to present the study that they did. Covers the staffing and the equipment and all kinds of stuff. And Ron and Scott and Solomon were going to do a press release on that boat, but I think that got done last week, didn't it? Last week, Thursday? I saw them out there, so that part's already done. So that's all I have. Any discussion, questions, or concerns about monthly reports? Mike, city manager report.
A couple items. There was a planning commission last week. There was a recommended modification to the PUD for Riverview Flats. The public notices have gone out, and it will be at your August 3rd meeting for that public hearing. MERS will be here on August 3rd to go over the actuarial from the 2019 year for our pension system. I do want to mention that Joe Baker and Leslie Heffron are going to be retiring on July 31st. We've already replaced Leslie's position. We hired a lady by the name of Stephanie Butts. She worked for the Kent County in a similar role there for many years, and looking forward to her coming aboard. And the Riverside project began last week. It's moving along pretty well. Hopefully, they're close to putting the base coat down maybe next week, hopefully. And I know we still have to put the second coat on Elizabeth, Suffolk, and Howard Streets. But that project is nearing completion as well, and that's all I have.
All right, Susie, nothing for appointments?
No.
Okay. Greg, council comments?
I'd just like to express some concern about replacing employees that are retiring. A month or so ago, we were looking at reducing our workforce by 20% for the layoff, and felt that we could do that for 3 months and possibly longer with an extension. I seriously think we have some very difficult times coming, and I think if we tighten our belt by not replacing some of these people that we thought we could get along with for 3 or 6 months, that might help us in the short term, and if we see a year from now, we're in better shape. But if we can hold off on some of these hires, that may help us financially. Just something to consider.
Thanks, Greg or Mark?
I got a question for Dan. We approved the crack sealing in city parking lots and some other places, and none of that's happened yet, and that was quite a while back. Just curious to when any of that work's gonna be done.
Last I was talking with them, there was, with the COVID and everything going on, they're having some issues. I'll get a hold of them, find out what their schedule is for getting this done.
Thank you.
Good. Jim?
I'm good, thank you.
Cliff?
All set.
All right. Jim?
That make a motion to adjourn at 8:07.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Or adjourned?